James Mangold returns to direct Hugh Jackman in this third and final installment in this Wolverine Origin series. Now, I'm Don Ghost, the worst movie reviewer, and today we're going to find out if Logan lives up to the hype. All right, now where do I start with this? I didn't like this movie. I really didn't like this movie because it was a predictable story to me. But before we get all to that, let's get to the positives of this thing. Now, the positives are one, the performances. The performances in this movie from everybody, all three main actors, in my opinion, is great. Hugh Jackman was born to play Wolverine. Patrick Stewart is a thespian, and this little girl, I forgot her name, who plays X-23 in this movie, has a bright future ahead of her. Now, usually people always complain about child actors in movies and say, oh, they suck, they ruined the movie. But in this, that's not the case. She definitely has a bright future after seeing her in this. You wonder where her career is going to go, because in this, she's brutal, she's vicious, she's fantastic. She puts on the mean mug. She certainly carries a persona of a Wolverine. And so wherever she got her training from to portray that image of like a Wolverine beast inside of her, she did a great job. Kudos to her. And Patrick Stewart, man, he's a thespian. Like the first scene you see Patrick Stewart in this movie, growing up with his character from all the previous X-Men movies, and seeing him in this, it's tragic, man. It's like watching, someone you love, who you seen do great things, later on you see them smoking crack or something, it's like you grew up with this person, now you see him doing this, and it's completely heartbreaking. And also his performance in the entire movie, especially his introduction scene, is just great. And Patrick Stewart, man, he's a really good actor. And then you move on to Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman is born to play this character. Like, it's a shame that he doesn't get recognition in other things that he does outside of playing Wolverine, but he was born to play Wolverine. He plays it perfectly, even though I know a lot of people want to complain about, oh, yeah, it's not accurate to the comics because Wolverine is a lot taller. But in this movie universe, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, and he will always be Wolverine. He is great in this thing. I would never replace him because he does his berserker thing, and he gets his berserker going, and he starts slashing and dicing, and he just does the rah, and the yelling and screaming. It's great, and I love it, So yeah, no complaints with Hugh Jackman in this. All the performances in here were great. And then let's talk about the directing. Now, the directing in here from James Mangold is good, but to me, certain parts of the movie felt like a TV movie. I really didn't like a couple of scenes. They felt a little melodramatic to me, but the action that he directed in here was very great. Like, you can see the slicing and dicing from X-23 and Wolverine in here, and it looks polished, crystal clear. See everything that's happening. Every time someone gets cut up and slash arms fall off, it emotionally charges me, and I loved it. And I think it will emotionally charge you too, because the action scenes were just so vicious and just energy filled. But for me, a couple action scenes kind of went on a little too long. Like, there was this little mid action scene where you can see in the trailer where Hugh Jackman is trying to drive away in a limousine from this military group, and I thought at first it was very great, but then they went on a little too long. And so it's like, you want to talk about the story. The story to me is just paint by numbers. It's predictable. You got Hugh Jackman in here, who is just like, okay, I'm not Wolverine anymore. Then, someone comes along and it's like, I need the Wolverine. He's like, I'm not like that. And then, all this other stuff happens. And it's just predictable. It's like, what I thought was going to happen, happened. Now, that's nothing wrong. A lot of movies are predictable. But this movie, as I was watching on the screen, I felt like something was missing. It's like the violence was there. The action scenes were there. They always woke me up and emotionally charged me. But then there was just all this stuff going on, like these scenes that really bored me, and I don't know why. I literally fell asleep a few times. So maybe I'm not in my right frame of mind to review this movie now, since I did fall asleep, because I was leaving the theater. I was like, I should watch this again, but I don't want to. And so it's like, man, this movie, it's I really was probably expecting something more, and I was disappointed, because I was expecting something like, as great as The Dark Knight, and this just doesn't have that, because it has your typical cliche moments. Like, for instance, you got your villain always trying to explain their plan at the end of the movie to the hero, and they're just like, here's why I did what I did, and it's like, who cares, man, stuff like that. There's also a scene in this movie where, something happens with a character and it's very sad when it happens, but then they just kind of blow it off, and as the movie goes on, I forgot completely about that previous thing, and that was bad to me, and the movie, yeah, especially at the end, it hints at like what the possible outcome can be, because you see this letter and you see what this thing is, and then when you see Wolverine like take this thing, it's like, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen. It was predictable, and what I thought was going to happen happened. Um, and I was just disappointed overall. It's like, yeah, positives. This movie has great performances, and the action scenes are extremely well polished. They're very energetic. Um, but the negatives are it's a predictable plot. There's nothing really interesting here to sink my teeth into. It should have been more elaborate and more intelligent as far as like just dynamics. Like have instead of like what I notice with a lot of movies is what they do is to try and shove emotion into your system and just be like, you're gonna feel for these characters, you're gonna feel for this situation. Is when they just throw something at random in there, like old people or a dog or something to get you going. And it's like I feel like they do that in this movie with something, and I didn't like it. I thought it felt forced. I feel like this movie wasn't trying enough to be completely thrilling as far as like with the story, because it was, to me, it was like, okay, we go here, we go there, and it's like a lot of coincidences where this character happens to be there for some reason, and then Wolverine's there and a situation goes down. It's like, okay. And I don't know, like maybe I should watch it again, but my initial reaction to this is I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It's predictable, cliche, see things coming a mile away, paint by numbers, and yeah, anticlimactic ending in my opinion. I mean, it's climactic, but to me, it was just a bit of like, it wasn't earned in my opinion. It wasn't like he's played Wolverine for so long. Of course, it's earned, but it's just like the way the movie executed it. I thought it could have been a lot better, and you know, I don't know. I didn't like this movie at all. So I would have to give Logan a solid C. Give this movie a solid C because I feel like it's half and half. Like I said, positives are the performances, which carry the movie, the violent slash 'em up scenes, which also carry the movie. But the negatives is the story and the plot and its execution, and I just don't like it. And it's cliched. And what more can I say? I just don't like this movie. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.